wearing a suit and you look like you gamble a lot, they give you free shit.
It's in the back, all right? I'll put it on when we get there.
No way. No, turn
I
around.
never thought this would happen. I never thought that this many people would see it.
What's happened?
Who are you talking to?
No one. Just making a little video of the trip.
This is how most people recognize Jon Favreau, his character Happy Hogan in the Marvel movies.
Hello?
Is this for head of security?
Which makes sense. They're popular, he's funny.
Is that where you're gonna sit?
Yeah.
Long before Marvel, long before he directed Iron Man, long before Friends even,
Yeah, I'll have a slice of cheesecake and a date if you're giving them out.
Favreau was kind of stuck.
Well, I was an actor. I was in a film, Rudy. I don't know if you remember that film about Notre Dame.
Right. Yeah, I got Notre Dame pretty well staked out, you know?
And it was my big break.
You look like you were in.
Coming off a big movie at the age of 27, Favreau moved out to LA to become the next big thing.
I mean, my family, my friends all felt that now I had arrived. I mean, I was a movie star.
I gotta go.
But there was a problem. No one cast him in any movies.
I just didn't work. I had dropped about 75 pounds. The town didn't know what to do with me.
So he said screw it and wrote one himself.
And I just sat down at my computer not thinking anybody would read it.
I'm not going to Vegas.
And certainly I didn't think anybody would make it.
I'm not going to Vegas.
And I wrote the script Swingers in about 2 weeks.
All right, listen. I took out $300, but I'm only betting with 100. I can't afford it.
This wasn't unusual for the 90s. Tarantino burst onto the scene with Reservoir Dogs in 92. Robert Rodriguez famously wrote, filmed, and edited El Mariachi for only $7,000. Yes, $1,000 in 93, turning it into a cool $2 million. And Ed Burns won plenty of awards with the very cheap Brothers McMullin in 95. Basically, independent movies were hot in the 90s, so if you had a good script and a little money, you could do anything.
Just slid my ticket across the table and I said, sorry guys, I gotta see about a girl.
And Favreau did, well, he did this.
Vegas! You think we get there by midnight?
Money, we're gonna be up 500 by midnight.
Baby, you are so money and you don't even know it.
Even if you haven't seen Swingers, I'm sure you've heard that line. The story of recently single Mike and his best friend Trent, it's one of the most quotable movies of the 90s.
Baby, that was money. Tell me that wasn't money.
It made Vince Vaughn a movie star.
When we met on that movie, he had just done this movie called Swingers that he was talking about.
And, of course,
Vegas, baby, Vegas!
I want you to remember this face here, okay? This is the guy behind the guy behind the guy.
But before it joined the ranks of Vegas movie royalty, Swingers was just Favreau's life.
And I spent a lot of time with these out-of-work actor friends that also had gotten their big breaks but also weren't working. And so we just kicked around town, and I decided to try my hand at writing.
Much like Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg for Superbad, Favreau didn't really know what to write about. He wasn't a writer, so what did he focus on?
I showed it to my friends. I based the characters sort of on my friends to give them a laugh because I know they would read it. I showed it to my
And importantly, not just based on his friends. These characters were his friends. Here's Ron Livingston, who plays Rob.
Yeah, like it's like watching home movies for me.
I'll give you an 8.
What'd you get?
I got an 8.
There's no way, like the only reason I was in Swingers is that Jon Favreau was the only guy that I knew in LA.
And here comes Ronnie, and Ronnie and me really did have this scene. And he did bring over a pepperoni, and I was drinking orange juice.
He introduced me to Vince, and we spent, a year or two playing video games and going to the Dresden and going to the Derby and like stumbling around trying to pick up girls and not being good at it all except for Vince. And
No, she's not looking at you, dude. Will you quit asking me if she's looking at you? She hasn't looked at you. Wait, she just looked.
So Favreau had a good, relatable script, and people seemed to like it.
And people wanted to buy it and develop it.
But talking with distributors, another problem cropped up.
With you starring? Or
No. With me like in a supporting role and as a producer.
Right.
But basically, it would have been taken away from me.
Here's Vince Vaughn with a bit more on this.
It's a real testament to Favreau, too, because he wrote the screenplay with all of us in mind. Patrick, Ron Livingston, Alex, myself. And he actually had opportunities to get the movie made at other places and actually get paid and give it, at the time, what seemed to be a bigger opportunity for release. But Jon was very insistent that the piece was pure and that the people that it was written for portrayed it because there was a quality to it.
So instead of letting a big production company mangle his good idea, his original idea, Favreau took a risk and backed himself.
Oh, you're a comedian.
Yeah, and an actor, kind of.
And the credit to Jon is, setting it in a world that was interesting enough that was fun to follow and being specific to that world. There was a lot of pressure to lose You're the Money and a lot of the sayings that were in the movie because they thought it wouldn't be understood by people outside of that area in Los Angeles.
Your money? You know what else? You're a big winner tonight.
But Jon was smart enough to realize that that's the thing that would make people drawn more into it, meaning someone going through a breakup is universal.
So how long do I wait to call?
A day.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, then a day.
Yeah.
While this idea is all very romantic, having sole creative control over your movie, Favreau didn't have any money, so he had to go find some cash to fund the project. And this took a few more years.
And we did readings for like 2 years after that to try to raise money.
And how much money was that?
We did the movie for $250,000.
Yeah.
Mike, I'm telling you, your money.
And this must sound like a lot, but in movie world, this was barely enough to cover equipment, let alone a crew and the locations.
I know, but the new place is down the strip. Now, those places are supposed to be it.
That is, until they found a special first-time director.
Now, this was Doug's idea. He said, what would you do? Where should we stage this? He says, just do whatever you do. And I said, well, I would just walk around the apartment. He says, well, let's do it.
The Doug Favreau is talking about is director Doug Liman, who you should definitely know from his other projects.
Find me when you wake up.
But here, he was just starting.
He decided to just shoot it in a way that you don't normally shoot a film. Shoot it like a student film. Use a small camera. Don't use a big crew. Don't use a lot of lights.
Yeah.
And if you've seen any of my other videos, you know I love this stuff. Run and gun filmmaking on a budget, solving problems on the fly. The team had to do it all, like the lighting, for example.
We didn't have enough money to light everything the way you're supposed to, because you need a bigger crew and a lot of lights, and it just takes so much time. Right. So we used a very sensitive film stock, Kodak 5298, and we just tried to push it as far as you can.
And this is where Favreau's great script comes in, because not only did he write what he knew, he wrote what he could film.
We weren't like a big feature where we were worried about the look of it, that it looked professional. We took chances. Not everything came out right, but we got enough to put a movie together.
So, working with Liman in pre-production, they agreed that sets, extras, and a large crew were off the table. So instead, he wrote for apartments, cars, and public spaces, namely lounges and bars.
Guy behind the guy.
The scotch on the rocks.
Now, the whole casino was open at this time, by the way.
They would give us a little area to shoot in, but we never shut it down.
On the table.
Excuse me?
You have to lay it on the table.
And this was another little trick. Rather than shy away from their amateur aesthetic, the team embraced it, which let them film in places most people couldn't.
You have so many people running around Hollywood doing student films and stuff and short films. We had no crew and a small camera. When we said we were doing a movie and we'd post signs saying we're filming Swingers, people assumed because of the size of the crew that we were actually doing like a student film or a documentary.
22, we gotta get out of here. Baby, were you relaxed?
And the bar was really open at this time while we shot there, which made it easier. You didn't have money and stuff for extras, but also just for authenticity.
Well, watch this dude.
Hey, boys. We almost gave up on you.
Oh, I'm sorry we're late. There's,
She asked me what I was thinking about. What do you want me to do, lie? You didn't have to get into it, baby.
This was the last thing we shot leaving Vegas.
And we were fucking tired. We were all hungover and tired.
Stop talking. Just shut up.
So yeah, if there are scenes in Swingers that seem real, that's because they probably were. Not only because the actors were reliving their real-life conversations.
So when it came time to perform this, of course, these guys knew exactly what to do because we'd actually lived this moment.
But because the extras didn't know they were extras.
This guy here doesn't know that we're shooting because the camera's walking in. He was trying to make time with her, and he gives me a nasty look. Gives me a nasty look there.
This all comes together as the raw and imperfect movie you see today. They use their own cars.
That's my car.
That was Faz's real car, and
which often wouldn't work.
And actually, my car ran out of gas. Remember, I got.
It was well and truly a production held together by love, effort, and luck.
Go double down. What time are we leaving?
5 minutes, baby.
All right.
And while they definitely cared about the visuals, the lack of time or money meant that Favreau and Liman focused on something else entirely.
We put more of our emphasis on the performances and on getting the story and the script down on film. We had good music and good performances, and the rest of the stuff sort of fell into place around it.
Now, I think this is underplaying Swingers a bit. It still looks pretty good. The depiction of male-adult friendship is undeniably wholesome, and they also shamelessly copy from some of the best.
I don't know what the big deal is. I mean, everybody steals from everybody. That's
Let's just get the hell out of here if we want to make this party.
These tongue-in-cheek homages to Tarantino and Scorsese work well as low-budget jokes.
So I figured instead of just having movie references here, we would have references to movie references.
But watching 30 years later, this cinematic inspiration lays the breadcrumbs for Favreau's career as one of the most influential directors this century. One of the best? I wouldn't go that far. Like, he's good, he's made some pretty good films, but his ability to blend performance with his curiosity for cinematic tech is fascinating. He's a pioneer in the space, and it's definitely something we'll have to explore soon. In fact, I'm Jack, this is Cena, thanks so much for watching, and yeah, there's a lot more to talk about.
Now that you've made it, now that it's a success, now that you did all that you wanted to do, what's happening?
With me?
Yeah.
Well, it's the, it's
you doing? Mike. Stop, though.